Could bumping up to 174 pounds be just what Hayden Hidlay needs to make the NCAA finals again? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling, your source for wrestling news and discussion. Today, talking about Hayden Hidlay and how he's going to fare at 174 pounds. He made the announcement via Twitter over a month ago, and via the NC State Wrestling Twitter account, they said that these are the Brothers of Destruction. Hayden Hidlay will return to NC State, bumping up to 174 pounds. And back-to-back Hidlay brothers, Hayden and Trent at 74 and 84. This is huge news. And with this news comes a lot of things we can discuss. First of all, who are the other contenders at 174 and how is Hayden going to do against them? Why is he able to bump up to 174? Like, who's leaving NC State that Hayden can go there now to 174? Is he going to do well there? And then is this a good or a bad thing? So there's a lot to discuss. So let's talk about it. So the biggest contenders at 174 pounds right now. So who is in the weight class? These are the All-Americans from the 2021 season. Of course, with Carter Sirachi of Penn State, your 2021 NCAA champion. Michael Kemmer made the finals of Iowa. He will be returning for another season, just like Hayden. And there's a lot of interesting comparisons between Kemmer and Hidlay. Labriola, Truout, Massa is still questionable about whether he will return or not as of the making of this video. Demetrius Romero, Daniel Bullard, and Jackson Turley. So the first thing is this stacked weight class, okay? I mean, this is just a stacked amount of competition, and surely there will be even more guys that didn't even All-American this year, but these are the biggest contenders right now, everybody returning, minus Logan Massa, and also Daniel Bullard is not returning. His brother, on the other hand, is, but Daniel Bullard at 174 is not returning, and that's why Hayden's bumping up all the way to 174 to wrestle there, because it's a weight class open, and maybe he needs to make a change, and I'll talk about that change in a bit. But first of all, we have to look at who Hayden has actually wrestled at 174. So has he actually wrestled anybody in the weight class? I think is the first thing you have to look at when you say, how can he fare? Can he make the NCAA finals again? And the truth is, he hasn't really wrestled a lot of guys at 174, or even guys who were 57 or 65 and then bumped up, because Hayden actually wrestled at 65 for a couple of matches, but there are two guys that he wrestled in the weight class that out of these contenders. One of them is actually the guy on his team, Daniel Bullard. They wrestled at 2017 Appalachian Open when Hayden won by a score of 5-2. This was at 165 pounds, so kind of split in the middle between 57 and 74 between these two guys. At 165, Hayden won by a score of 5-2. So, okay, Hayden does have a win over an All-American. He is a teammate, so granted, they're probably wrestling in the room quite a bit, but I gotta mention that. Michael Kemmer is the other guy who Hayden actually wrestled. He wrestled during Hayden's redshirt season when Kemmer actually beat Hayden by a score of a 9-6 at Midland's high-paced, high-scoring match between those two guys. And I'm sure we're going to get it again. So, as far as the rest of the field goes, it's questionable how he's going to do against Sirachi or Labriola or Truout or Massa. And it's tough to say because he hasn't beaten Kemmer. Now, Kemmer had a huge jump from 57 to 74. And once we saw him not really cutting probably much weight anymore and really putting his time into the technique and gains and just driving through his opponents. I mean, Kemmer's huge bump from 57 to 74, he was able to beat the number one ranked wrestler in the country at the time in Mark Holland, who's probably going to have a solid NCAA tournament. So could Hayden do the same? It's tough to say based on the competition. So we have to shift. We got to shift the question another way because we know what we know right now. We know that he beat Bullard. He lost to Kemmer. Okay. So is this going to be a good or bad move? I think is another question we have to ask. And why is Hayden even bumping up here? Okay, so we said that Bullard is one of the reasons because it opened, but okay, he could have just stayed at 57, couldn't he? Well, I think this is a good thing for Hayden because, look, Hayden made the NCAA finals as a freshman, as a redshirt freshman. He went undefeated, came in as the number one seed in the 2018 season, placed second. He made the finals, lost to Jason Nolf by a score of 6-2 at 157. And since that time, he's kind of seen declining results at NCAAs. Now, yes, he has still gone on the stand every single year, minus the virus year when there wasn't a tournament, but he still got on the stand, but declining results. Second, fourth, fifth. This year he lost to David Carr in the semis. He lost to Nolf a couple years before that in the semis. But this year lost to Carr in the semis and then ended up bumping down to the consies, losing to Ja'Cory Teamer by a score of 18-12. I mean, something, as you're looking at these results, something has to change. And the weight class, if he wants to stay at NC State, which I'm glad that he is, I really am, maybe bumping up is the way to go. Being able to train more with his brother. I think he saw maybe a couple other guys that have had solid results by bumping up a weight class. So let's talk about why Hayden at 174 is a good thing. First of all, I mentioned his brother, new training partners. His brother, Trent, is an NCAA finalist. He made the NCAA finals this year, and I don't know how often they're training in the room, but an 84-pounder and a 57-pounder, I mean, that's kind of a big weight jump as far as training partners. Not massive, but I'm sure they're not training every single day in the room. This gives the brothers more time to train together since they'll be back-to-back, 74, 84. New competition. Hayden's been wrestling the same guys at 57 for years, right? Many, many years. Same guys, back and forth. You get the same competition in the ACC. And I'm still going to be in the ACC, but need new guys at 74. Wrestle some new competition, potentially better competition. And the other thing is the trend of bumping up. Guys have bumped up. Kemmer is one guy I mentioned. Luke Pletcher bumped up, did very well, cutting less weight. Sebastian Rivera has done well, cutting less weight. Nino Bonacorsi made the NCAA finals, cutting less weight. These are all factors that go into the same thing with bumping up weight class can be good. And Hayden is a solid wrestler. He's beaten multiple NCAA finalists before. He's beaten Jake Wenzel at Midlands before. Micah Jordan in a duel. He had close matches with Jason Nolf and David Carr. I mean, it's time to say that there may need to be a change. In Hidlay bumping up to 74, I think this may just be the change that he needs to make the NCAA finals again.